Okay, in an era where electric cars are becoming more and more common, there's a lot of debate about their effectiveness at making the environment better. Recently, my opponent claimed that electric cars are just as harmful to the environment as traditional gasoline-powered cars. His claims were one, that the electricity production from fossil fuels used to power electric vehicles was just as harmful to the environment as in gasoline cars. Two, the production of electric cars is more environmentally damaging than production of gasoline cars. And three, their batteries have a negative effect during production as well as in disposal of them. I'm here to claim that each of these points is either incorrect, irrelevant, or ineffective, and that electric cars are in fact better for the environment. His first claim is that because of coal energy production, electric cars cause more pollution per mile. The number he gave was 3 ounces more carbon emission per mile. The only source for this claim was an article by a conservative interest group, which has a stated purpose of ending subsidies, including those for electric cars. This biased interest group doesn't have any source for their statistics at all. And based on the research I've done from that looked at from the EPA, gasoline cars are said to use only 30% of the energy stored in gasoline, whereas electric cars use 73% of the energy produced from electricity. And this is showing that electric cars are actually much more efficient at using the energy from their energy sources than gasoline cars. His second claim was that production of electric vehicles requires more energy to produce than gasoline cars. While this may be true, the difference is really not that significant. According to a study by MIT, there's only 6% of the carbon footprint from a vehicle comes from its production. The rest comes from its fuel consumption and it's the production of the fuel. So really, when there's his claim, which was that electric vehicles require twice as much energy as gasoline cars to produce because of their lightweight materials, it's really not that significant in the long run. And it's offset by the efficiency of electric vehicles. His third claim is that battery production doesn't offset fuel savings, and that battery disposal is a major problem. The source he used claimed that because you have to drive at least 37,000 miles before your carbon footprint diminishes, electric cars would be harmful to the environment. However, according to the Department of Transportation, most Americans drive at least 13,000 miles a year. And according to the New York Times, most cars last up to 200,000 miles. So you could be replacing your carbon footprint multiple times over with an electric car. And that 37,000 miles is really not that significant. As for battery disposal, it's true that improper disposal of batteries is bad for the environment. However, according to Recycling International, electric car batteries are actually very recyclable, and in 85% of cases, they could be repurposed or reused. So it's not really going to cause that much damage to the environment to have batteries in cars. So overall, electric cars are less damaging to the environment than gasoline-powered cars.
Okay, it's relatively easy to follow the structure from the beginning. The argument at the first point challenges the one piece of evidence suggesting that there's no basis for this statistic. It comes from a group that has a particular bias in that situation. That challenge is, I think, a little bit weak. The better argument is that there isn't any sourcing for where that number comes from, and I thought that that was pretty effective. And then you've got a good counterclaim here that says when we're talking about the efficiency of the use of the energy and the resources, internal combustion engines are only at 30%, whereas electric cars are at 70%. I think that that's a pretty good response to that argument. The second point concerning the cost of production, the environmental cost of production, I think you diminish the argument substantially when you note that the carbon footprint, the percentage of the carbon footprint that is from the production part is only 6%, so that makes it relatively small. That it's more for electric cars, but it's more of that 6% than it is the larger percentage. I thought that that was a good way of answering that argument, and you had a very clear explanation about why that is, in fact, an exaggerated impression that the advocate is giving. And then the argument about, when do we get our investment back when it comes to the turnover on the pollution that's produced. You have to have it at least 37,000 miles. I thought you went exactly at this the right way. Well, the average person drives 13,000 miles a year. Most cars last 200,000 miles. So in essence, you're going to be getting a return on this several times over before the car wears out. This is not a problem at all. And I thought that explanation was very clear. The battery recycling thing, you also had a good response on that. I don't remember what the advocate's evidence was on that particular point, whether it quantified anything, but at least you've got something that quantifies a response on that point. All right, thank you.